Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully, everything's would help if I put my microphone in front of me. Ah, I just undermined Godzilla, the Fiend. Well, anyway, hello everyone. Hopefully, I'm actually live and you can hear me. My computer was doing something really weird. The mouse wasn't working, and then when it finally did kick in, I got 15 copies of everything I was trying to do, probably because I kept trying to do it 15 times over and over again. But anyway, it seems to be running okay. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. And let's see what we got here. Oh, we got Rachel in 208 says, hi, Thrash. Welcome, Rachel. You're first tonight. Classic Video Game 45. David is here. David, so good to see you. Hi, Mrs. Thrash. Mrs. Thrash says hello to everyone, by the way. Oh, by the way, and she, and I'm sure several hundred million other people very, very relieved and happy. She's doing a little TikTok dance off camera. TikTok has gone back on and seems to, knock on wood, be running fine. So, commiserations to all our brothers and sisters who are TikTokers. I was very devastated on their behalf when the platform was shut down. And I can only imagine. You can imagine what it would be like if we lost YouTube. So, and a lot of people make a lot of money on TikTok. So, anyway, on behalf of Mrs. Thrash and everyone on TikTok, I just want to say I'm glad something worked out for you folks recently. Sean is here. He says, "Hey, Thrash," and Mrs. Thrash. Sean says hi, and she's waving as well, off camera, obviously. Lance is here. He says hi. Um, and Dave says, "Am YouTuber." Yes, as our you do have your own channel, by the way. Thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna have to ask Danny when he gets on to please give a link to your channel. Johnny Orchards here. He says, "Hey, buddy, Johnny, so good to see you, my brother. Welcome to the show." Mr. Led is here. Mr. Letty says, "Hey, Rob, I'll be lurking. Hi, Mrs. T." Letty, any capacity you can be here is always appreciated. Rachel says, "Tell Mrs. Thrash to show herself." No, no, her modesty forbids. She will be permanently off camera, but she will say hello and put in her occasional 2 cents to support both me and you guys. But I've asked her to go on camera before, and she's like, "Yeah, no dice." David says, "I'm glad that your wife have something to watch now, Thresh." Yes, she doesn't post on TikTok, but a lot of her friends do, and some of them stood to lose a lot of money by not actually having the platform up and going. Fingers crossed. I don't know if this is a temporary arrangement or if the platform is secure, but again, either way, it was funny because I was telling her, I go, I'm very sympathetic, and she goes, "Oh, you're not, you don't care." I'm like, if they took YouTube away, I'd be devastated, So, and I can only imagine people with 50 million TikTok followers how they would feel. And Johnny says, "Thank you, Mrs. Thrash, for letting Thrash come out and play. She's the coolest. She really is." Sean says to Thrash Pondo, "She won't even to her impression of the thing from the Adams Family. LOL." Oh, you mean like? I think she actually reached on camera once. I can't remember once. I think she needed a can of diet ginger ale or something. But I think she did do that once. But at this point, we will see. Gary Carpenter series says, hey there, everyone. I'm Bach." Yes, you're Bach and I'm Beethoven. See what I did there? Gary, so great to see you, my man. And I appear to be caught up. Oh, R.I.P. Joan Plowright. I'm always afraid I'm going to pronounce that name wrong. It's so simple. I'm afraid I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Yes. Rest in peace, Mrs. Plowright. John says, "Smash it, like the like button, indefinitely indeed." Dave says, "Yeah, without YouTube, I be lost. I feel like I have something to do with the videos and like woohoo something to do." Indeed, indeed. And Sean says, "Oh, ow, Joan is gone. Yeah, she passed on a couple days ago." And Gary says, "Hi there, Mrs. Thresh." Danny's here. Says, "Greetings from South Carolina." And Danny, do us a favor. If you could give Classic Video Games 45 Silly Cats a link, we'd all really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us, as is always. And let's just see. So far, oh, we have 8 people in the chat and 8 likes. I can't do much better than that. Um, it's still early days yet. It's only just 7:30. So we'll see who else comes in. Dave says greetings, Earthlings. Yes, greetings to you too. Sean says I saw Gary Carpenter. I said, "Hey, above, or do you need a bathroom?" Oh, Just Kerwin is just. I'm so glad you could make it. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Kerwin. Thank you very much for joining us. We were actually chatting earlier today on Tug's channel. Welcome to this party. Thank you very much. Um, any relation to what this is crazy? Wasn't there a Lance Kerwin from James at 16 and Salem's Lot? Any relation? Probably a long shot. In fact, I think he spells it differently. But please let us know in the comments below. Gary says, Sean, you know that my phone has a mind of its own, as do we all. And Sean says, yeah, mine is evil too. Dave says, thank you, Danny. Sean says, on my desktop though. And Lance says, Thrash Lance Kerwin. He does spell it differently. So I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Gary says, Sean, we must have a gremlin in the system. And Just says, nope, you're thinking of Lance Kerwin. R.I.P. Yes, he did die. The last couple of years, he certainly did. He wasn't that old. I think he was only 60 when he died. And I had a feeling he spelled it differently. But wouldn't that be a kick? You know, I'm actually a distant cousin to Dana Barron from the first National Lampoon's Vacation movie. Lance says, been shoveling snow every day the past week now, getting ready for minus 12. I know it's going to get really, really, really cold. We're supposed to get a little snow overnight here on Cape Cod, but it's going to get really cold for the next couple of weeks. I don't know if it's negatives, but pretty bad. Wajabin is here, says, hello, everyone. Danny, please give Wajimeen a link as well. Wajimeen, is so nice to see you, my brother. Dave says, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. And you know where this is going. I believe that was from oh, what was the name of that frog from the Warner Brothers cartoon? But anyway, yes. Superplex is here. He says, good evening, Superplex, my brother. So good to see you. I've talked to you a lot last couple of days, by the way. So glad you could make it tonight, by the way. And keep an eye out. I should have that wretched recap up and on air probably by the middle of this week on the outside. And Just Kerwin says one froggy evening, Michigan J Frog. Was his name actually Michigan J Frog? Okay, thank you, Just. And let's see what else we can go on here. Some people are still trickling in. Oh, we're actually down to 7 though. That can't be right. You know, sometimes my head count I think is inaccurate. But oh, and Lynn says, don't forget Dave's members stream Monday at 7:30. Tomorrow at 7:30? Is it tomorrow? I will be there, but I must have missed the message. Tab is here, says, good Sunday evening, Thrash. Terrell, it is so awesome to see you as always, my brother. Lisa Fields is here, says hi, Thrash. Hi, everybody. Lisa Fields, so nice to see you. Happy birthday again, by the way. Miss Lynn says, Thrash, heard from Daryl lately. Only on Facebook. He sent me a few messages on Facebook, so I have been in touch with him. But mostly just, hey, is this funny? Check this out, it's funny, that type of thing. But he's still around, which is good. Oh, Lisa says, thanks, Thrash. Oh, by the way, tonight, we always have like a backdrop of theme, topic, whatever you want to call it. Tonight's, by the way, in the spirit of Danny Staten, as I'm sure you all heard. I don't see how any of you could not have heard by now. Danny was talking about a show. He saw it years ago I think when he was a kid, or at least many, many years ago. It was an all black and white show from either the late 40s, early 50s. And the premise of it was a dinner party in the late 1930s. And over the course of the party, the host put on the radio, and the Orson Welles War the World's broadcast comes in. And the main plot point of the story is um, the couple who are attending this party are, in fact, actually Martians here to spy on Earth, and they misinterpret the radio broadcast as their planet's military starting the invasion. And they pull out their laser guns and start a blasting. I can't tell you how many people have looked for this without results. I think it actually might be a Tales from Tomorrow, which was an old sci-fi show. I believe actually started in the late 40s and ran until the early 50s. But unfortunately, IMBD doesn't have plot pages for all the episodes. That's just the best I could do. But since we've all spent so much time talking about old sci-fi TV shows, tonight's quasi topic will be old anthology sci-fi horror paranormal from the golden age. Now we all know Twilight Zone, we all know Outer Limits, well, even most of us know One Step Beyond. But feel free to talk about lesser known ones that you have enjoyed, even going into the 80s with things like Monsters or the Ray Bradbury Theater, that type of thing. And oh, by the way, tonight's trivia will be on ironically, Teb requested last week. We're going to be doing Twilight Zone. It's a little different. It's not your normal trivia. I call this game Spoiler Alert. And the way Spoiler Alert works is I give the key ironic point from the Twilight Zone plot, and you have to guess what the title of the episode is. Multiple choice, of course. So you can always make an educated guess if you don't know offhand. Zubik says, I hope Wretched Recap will include Mad Magazine. Actually, I pulled some of those Mad Magazines out, so if you want me to do I actually found a couple of really cool comics. But if you want to be Mad Magazine, I will do Mad Magazine for you. I haven't started it yet. I was just doing some preliminary research. So, yes, Mad Magazine it is. And Denny says, ooh, my brain. And Gary says, Joan Playwright was 101 Dalmatians live version as the housekeeper. Excellent. I did not know that. And Teb says, in memory of the great David Lynch, who passed away this week at the age of 78, would you please consider doing a David Lynch themed trivia in the next stream? I will, but that's going to be a toughie. That would I would happily do that, but that would be it's going to be tough, and I don't know how many of our people actually know David Lynch that way. But you know what? I will, but I apologize in advance. And by the way, the Starovnia, Mr. Lynch, and Gary says, Jeannot Swack is not going to get the name right. Was a director for Supergirl and the Santa Claus the movie, and a few other things. That he did something else, and I'm like, oh my god, he did that! I forgot that, and I've forgotten what that was now. But yes, rest in peace, Jeannot. As it looks, it sounds like a TV show. Yes, it does sound like a TV show, doesn't it? That narrows it down. It was something he saw on television. And Lynn says, I know Gary Carpenter likes Supergirl, Helen Slater. Well, how could you not? And Sean says, Abby, normal trivia. Love it. And Dave says, had CD radio show War of the Worlds. Really? Really? I think I do too somewhere now that you mentioned it. I think I do too. And Gary does as well. Farmers Contenders here. He says, hi, Thrash and all. Indy Spouts is here. Says, I've seen every episode of Tales of Tomorrow. It's not that. Well, thanks, Indy. There was one other show and I can't think of there were two. Tales from Tomorrow was the most promising. There was another. I have it written down somewhere. In fact, I believe, Danny, I believe I texted the name of the show to you. You might still have the text. Let me know. But we can close the books on Tales from Tomorrow, by the way. And and Indy, by the way, you made a very, very, very clever. You picked up a reference I had made earlier on Tug Show, and I meant to let you know that yes, you got the reference in spades, but unfortunately, everyone was going on my limit today. So by the time I saw a comment, it was usually too late. But yes, I you always manage to know what I'm talking about. No matter how obscure my reference is, you always know what it is, and I can't tell you how impressed I am because I'm pretty obscure sometimes. I can be really obscure. And Gary says Lance Kerwin was on The Bionic Woman. I did not know that. He was in James at 16. He was in that after school special with Ike Eastman, Duffy Moon. That's not the title of it, but it was about Duffy Moon, about the scrawny kid who thinks he has telekinesis. He was in Salem's Lot, as discussed, and a few other things. Mrs. Thrash had a crush on him, so she would probably know better than I would. And Lance at Salem's Lot, yep. And he says to Sean, Hans Delbruck, scientist and saint. Hans Delbruck. There's a bell ringing in my head, but it's probably the tinnitus. And oh, Hans Delbruck. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Am I close? Anyway, let me know. And yeah, let's just see. And he says, hey, Washington Lancelot. Gary says, and he was on Wonder Woman. And Denny says, I just checked Tales of Tomorrow episode guide. No luck. And he says, was the other show you're thinking of Out There? By God, it was. Okay, that yes, it was. It's funny. In fact, Indy, you and my buddy I was talking about earlier today, Rick Frederick, um, you and he would get along great because you two are very similar in the fact that it's almost impossible to stump you. I mean, I gave only the vaguest a sci-fi show from the old days, and you got that without even the title. And again, that was something that my buddy Rick said. Oh, and just Kerwin knows that as well. Way Out, maybe. So yes, uh actually, which one is it? Was it Way Out or was it Out There? Either way, that would be my other suggestion. And Lance said, I missed Tug Stream, fell asleep. Well, we all did the rest. Indy says, I'm sorry, Sean says Salem's Lot. And yes, he was an enemy mine. He was the co-pilot who gets killed in the opening sequence. And Rachel says, I love James at 16. And just Kerwin says, the amazing comic awareness of Duffy, the amazing cosmic awareness of Duffy Moon. I had a huge crush on Ike Eastman. He wasn't my type, but I certainly I thought he was awesome. I thought he was absolutely amazing. I believe he had a kid brother who also acted for a while as well. But Ike Eastman, and I always get his name wrong. It's Eisenman, I believe. But he was in a short-lived TV show called Fantastic Journey, Fantastic Island, Fantastic Multi-Purpose Cleaner. Um, but it was just again one of those anthology shows. It was sort of The Fugitive in a science fiction setting. People get stuck in the Bermuda Triangle and get stuck going from one alternate universe to another, always trying to make the leap home. And he was in that. Gary says, I didn't get to see that show. It came on another station that I couldn't get. Ooh, I hate that. I hate that. Oop, I just jumped. I'll try to keep up. Lynn says, where's Tracy, Emily, and Cindy? Good question. Christopher's here, says, good evening, Bob. Good evening to you too, Christopher. So good that you could make it. John says, what is it called? Way Out or Out There? And Gary says there's a lot of shows I didn't get to see. The Avengers, Man from Uncle, Dark Shadows. And he says, you might be thinking of Arnie Sack Newsom from Journey to the Center of the Earth. Hans is from Hans Delbruck. Yes, was from. Okay, thank you. That's exactly what I was doing. I was thinking of Arnie. Yeah, yes, I was thinking Arnie Sack Newsom. Why did I? Why was I thinking Hans Delbruck? Well, matters it not. But and it's funny too because you do know that Young Frankenstein is my favorite comedy of all time. You know what? I just sometimes when I speak in stream of consciousness, wires get crossed and I misremember things, which is why I need you guys here. Let's just see. Ziplik says you really missed a lot, Gary. Dave says space final frontier where no man has ever been. Justin says fantastic journey with Roddy McDowell. Yes, Roddy McDowell. If I remember correctly, they picked him up. He wasn't in the first few episodes. In fact, he was one of the villains. Um, but they ended up picking him up and carrying him along, and I think they were trying to give the show a much needed shot in the arm. Sadly, it didn't work. It was a neat premise. They just, like all sci-fi TV shows, or sadly too many of them, I should say, it wasn't given enough of a chance to catch on. You know, like Otherworld, um, those types of shows, you know. And Gary says, I know that we could only pick up 8 channels in my area. When I first moved to Cape Cod, we had one. If you fiddled with that VHF control for about half an hour, you could possibly pick up a second one, but it was fuzzy. Fantastic journey with Jared Martin. Thank you, Les. Jared Martin was he was probably the main star in it. Gary says fantastic world with Raquel Welch. Oh, that was fantastic voyage. Um, or something or other. They made a cartoon show about that too, by the way. Ziplik says once made a trip to Cleveland in 1970. They had only 3 channels at the time. That's crazy. Dave says Captain's Log number 121-420 case of missing toilet paper. Dun 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 dun. Dragnet. Well, Dragnet meets Star Trek. Oh, it looks like Tracy's here. He says hi everyone. Tracy, I'm so glad you could make it. Bubba, love you, my lady. And Gary says in my area we had 8 channels: ABC, CBS, NBC, Channel 18, and 3 PBS stations. Well, PBS stations are nice. And Sean says, we were spoiled in New York City area, weren't we? Oh yeah, when I used to visit my father, he would get like 40 channels. I was always very jealous. Oh, Chance here says, happy Sunday. Chance, so nice to see you again today. And then he says to Dave, when you start talking about toilet paper from Star Trek, Captain's Log takes on a whole new meaning. Very good, very good. And Zubik says, and yet Grey's Anatomy has been on the air for 20 years. And Tracy says, hello to all I missed. And Zubik says, yes, indeed, we were, Sean. And Just says, we had 3 networks and NET/PBS. And Tracy says message retracted. A message retracted to you as well. And and love all of you too. Oh, that's very, very nice. And Sean says to Chance, I see you were born in White Plains. Is that right? We lived, and my mother's always correcting me. We lived near White Plains when I was a kid. For some reason, I have a major mental block. It wasn't White Plains; it was near White Plains. She's let me know on at least 80 occasions. I was very young at the time. I was in preschool. I'm sure she'll let me know again. She's like, I told you it was. Yeah, so we lived near White Plains. Small world. And Gary says, I avoided the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery, and we never saw the Outer Limits. Oh, bummer. Those were all great shows. Chan says, I was there 1 week. Oh, okay. So you didn't really live there. You were there for a weekend. Dave says, Sean says to Chance, I was born in Mount Kisco, but we lived closer to White Plains. Ah, I see, I see. Entry says, there are so many of you to say hello to. I can't do it individually. You guys are too fast for me to type. Trust me, I understand. Too fast to read, too. And Christopher says, was it the night that panicked America? No, that actually came later, and that was more like a documentary. I remember that came out when I was like in middle school. And a lot of that, by the way, was over dramatized. And Danny says, just read through 5 seasons of Lights Out. No luck again, drat. And John says, was it near White Plains where they did experiments with memory loss? Sorry, a black van just pulled up. I have to answer the door. The Men in Black from White Plains. And then the Montauk Monster, which is a Skrell, I believe is what we called it. And Gary says, the night that panicked America was the Radio War of the Worlds. And Indy says, I was lucky besides the big three. PBS Indy also was within range of the college station from Bloomington that constantly showed reruns of old movies. Oh, and old movies. Still the greatest channel of my life. Yeah, that. So, my college station my college didn't have a TV station. That would have been awesome. And just says, I know how it is, Tracy. Modding can be crazy sometimes. Emily's here, says, hi, y'all. Sorry I'm late. You are right on time. You were right on time, my sisters. Thank you very much for joining us, and everyone saying hi to Emily, who was right on time. Gary says, better late than never. And Sean says, yep, late again. Next time there will be repercussions. Ooh. And Dave says, here I come to save the day when Mighty Mouse wants his pay. Yeah, if he don't, he gets to leave. He wants to leave because he wants to go out by his cheese. Excellent. And Emily says, Reaper, like drumming and drumming again. What I need is more cowbell. Yeah, let's go with that. And Edu. What do we get? We just lost one. Okay, who did I lose? Oh, come on, guys. Was something I said. Yeah. I don't know where Reaper came from. You mentioned it. I just figured you knew something I didn't, and I figured it was a Blue Oyster Cult reference, as in "Don't fear the Reaper," and the drumming was the cowbell. This recap is for the benefit of those of you who tuned in late, and I'm still disappointed that I missed Hans Delbruck. Like I said, well, I was close. It was a scientist, at least. I was a scientist, and both movies had scientists in them. And John says, you lost the guy in the black van he just left. Or did he? We are the men in black. Healthy livestock that we might eat. Human flesh, imported meat. And Zublik says, what you need, T-Pawns, is more My Flock Productions values. I know, but My Flock is very sick tonight. So I pressed on without her. And yes, I do need more polish. But I thought my sort of no frills approach is sort of endearing, isn't it, guys? And Emily says I meant repercussions, not Reaper, but Supernatural is controlling my autocorrect, I guess. Oh, repercussions. Oh, and repercussions is in percussion. Ah, you shall reap percussions. there shall be repercussions. Okay, I think I've managed to unravel your logic, my dear. And I'm still very, very, very glad you're back. And to Wade says, bye everyone. I can't stay tonight. See you next week. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us, Miss. It was great having you here. And we'll see you very, 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 very next week. And Gary says the guys from Supernatural have been in the shorts on the phone. Huh. And Zubik says, sick or is it she forgot to pay the electric bill again? Or it can be both. Lance says, Thrash, you're doing fine. Don't change. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lance. Very, very kind of you. A lot of people saying goodnight to Rachel, as they should. And he says, don't sweat it, Bob. I don't expect you know everything. That's my job. And a fine job you do as well. Having signed on to be my de facto fact checker. And at an apprentice rate, even. And I can't thank you enough for all of that. And Sean says, autocorrect hates you. Your puns. Oh, I get it. Oh, no. Everyone loves their puns. And Dave says, live from New York. Oh, live from New York. It's Saturday night with Thrash Pondo. And Tim says, tomorrow is the Trump inauguration. And like most people, I'm not a Trump fan. Tim, remember, not our culture to discuss politics. I more than understand your sentiment. But let's not open any cans of worms, shall we? And he says to Sean, well, it may have to get in line. And Emily says, Gary, those guys are everywhere, so why not my phone too? Good point. And Trey says, oh, no intro politics. And Zublik says, the day the apocalypse begins. You see, Zoop, this is what we're talking about. And Gary says, your Fanta drink was made during World War II. Yes! Yeah, good point, little World War II trivia. The Germans couldn't get Coca-Cola syrup after the Americans put an embargo. So they made their own syrup for soft drinks, and Fanta is what they came up with. Little World War II trivia there. Tracy says, not even, and just says, I'm ignoring that in favor of it being Martin Luther King Day. It is. It is Martin Luther King Day tomorrow. So for all you people out there, embrace that. And Emily says, Sean autocorrect stands with the majority. And just says, no politics, gotcha. Well, it's not really the culture here. We do nostalgia. We keep it light. We talk old movies, TV shows, music. I understand people have political opinions, and it's fine to have them. I took a page. Dave Sundstrom said the wisest thing to me. He goes, "There's one thing about going political," and I remember because this is back when I was doing podcast with Ian, and he wanted to do something political, and Dave said, "Once you do that once, you become a political channel. You can't separate yourself from it." And again, I want this to be a happy place for my happy people, my friends. And Tracy says, give me old telly shows or firm number for me. And Gary says, I know that they were speaking with the audience from a show where I don't know. And Tim says, there will be no talking about politics in this chat. My apologies. No need to apologize. Tab, no need to apologize. You have every right to have your opinion. Just if I don't pick up the banner and run with it, don't think I'm ignoring you or snubbing you. But everyone has every right to have every opinion they want. I have several. And but no, Tim, you're amazing, by the way. Don't ever forget that. And everything you say is welcome here. And Denny says, don't make me send someone to the penalty box. And then says, Gary, I would tell my soul to see them at a con, Ironic, actually. And Dave says 2 minutes at the penalty box. And he says to Gary Carpenter, I hope for Bob's sake his Fanta was made a lot more recently than that. Dear God, I know, right? Although, what's the shelf life of soda? I'm just going to skim down really quick. The book says we definitely need more Martin Luther King today than ever before. Tracy says, give me old films or give me liberty. And he says, arguing politics is like arguing with flavor of ice cream. Which flavor of ice cream is best? Good luck. And Dave says, yeah, keep it clean from that stuff. And Emily says, anyone can disagree with my opinions. Everybody has the right to be wrong, but bumped. Love it, love it. And you know what? I kind of skimmed down because I want to get to the trivia game tonight. Remember the theme of tonight's trivia game? It's actually called, the whole game is called Spoiler Alert. And yes, there will be spoilers. Spoiler alert. And the way this game works is I'm going to give you a plot angle. I'm going to give you the element of irony from an episode of The Twilight Zone, and you're going to have to guess what the episode is. Most of you will know the episode by heart because they're pretty famous episodes. Most of you can make an educated guess, and some of you can just stab wildly, and some of you could just be trivia game conscientious objectors. I more than understand there. And once again, I'm going to read these in no particular order because I forgot to number them again. So, number whatevs. All my friends were a bunch of assholes. Was it A, The Incredible World of Horace Ford, B, Young Man's Fancy, C, Kick the Can, or D, Mr. Dingle the Strong? I shall repeat. All my friends turned out to be a bunch of assholes. Was it A, The Incredible World of Horace Ford, B, The Young Man's Fancy, C, Kick the Can, or D, Mr. Dingle the Strong? Responses are starting to trickle in. John said 42. Yes, answer to life, the universe, and everything. Entry says, I am doing okay, Lance. Still sticking with my diet. I've lost kind of a bit of weight. The mono stuff, no joke. Oh dear, I can imagine. I hope you feel better, my dear. Watcher means guessing Z. But then he also guessed A. Sean says no clue, E. Dave says angry grandma. Are you referring to the episode from the 85 incarnation of Twilight Zone? The one that was just called Grandma? The one that was a very rare Stephen King, Harlan Ellison collaboration? That scared the Bee Gees out of me when I saw it. And he says, I don't think any of those episodes as being particularly as holy. Well, I can see why you would say that. So, Indy, take an educated guess, and if I have to, I'll explain. And just says, yeah, that one's crazy scary. Yes, and it also has Darlene, and I butcher the poor girl's name, which is really sad because she's no longer with us. And I had a huge crush on her, so you think I'd at least be able to say her name. But Darlene Flugel plays the particular hot mother in that as well, by the way. Emily says, Bob could have been talking about us. No, 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 no. Okay, this is starting to get awkward. So it's the incredible world of Harold Ford. And what it is, as you know, Serling suffered from one of the most debilitating sense of nostalgia. And anyway, it's about a guy with a debilitating sense of nostalgia. And he's constantly talking about the good old days from the old neighborhood and all his great friends and how great they were. And there was always horsing around. They were always like poking him in the ear and punching him in the gut and tripping him when he wasn't looking and tripping him when he was looking. And the ultimate payoff is his friends bullied him. He was the chubby kid whose mother taught him table manners, and they were less polished. So their thing was to actually bully him, and we actually find out that the reason the mother moved, it wasn't just a better neighborhood; it was because she was tired of her son being bullied. So yes, it was the incredible world of Horace Ford. Horace Ford. Oh, and on top of everything else, talking about an overgrown kid. His job is he's a toy maker. And so anyway, it's Zublik says, which one was that? Yes, it stars the guy. I forget the actor's name, but he's probably best known for you MASH fans out there. He played the general who did the military inspection tours of all the hospital units, who happened to be Morgan Colonel Potter's best friend from World War, going back to World War One, and it's the April Fool's Day episode where he acts like a real jerk, so he could actually uh, trick the staff into hitting him with a practical joke, and it's a great episode. Pat Hingle, wow! Look, we got Teb, Indy, and Just all baboom. Yes, that's the one. Pat Hingle, and Zublik says I meant which letter was the correct answer. Oh, A. A. And John also knows Pat Hingle. He was the star. Yes, he was the star of that episode. And it's actually one of my favorite episodes of MASH. And Teb says, clarification, the original Twilight Zone aired on CBS from 1959 to 1963. It certainly did. And so anyway, now we're going to go with, I'm guessing, what is ostensibly number 9. The immortal dude turned out to not be so immortal. Was it A, the 4 of us are dying, B, the last rites of Jeff Myrtlebeck, C, long live Walter Jameson, or D, the execution? I shall repeat. It turned. Oh, I read it backwards, but anyway, you guys got it. The immortal dude turned out to be not so immortal. And here are your choices: A, the 4 of us are dying; B, the last rites of Jeff Myrtlebeck; C, long live Walter Jameson; or D, the execution? Emily says, I have no earthly idea what most episodes are titled. Emily, you raise a good point. Sometimes a lot of shows, I do this all the time with Star Trek. Like I'll know like my top 12 favorite episodes, but to this day, when I talk Star Trek, I'm like, oh, you know the one where Spock shows emotion, or oh no, you know the one. It's the one where Spock and Dr. McCoy argue, or you know the one uh Kirk gets a girlfriend. I mean, I don't actually know them by title, and I'm embarrassed because I've been watching them for over 50 years. But again, you can make educated guesses. And Gary says, I don't know that either, but many shows did or didn't have titles on the show. Indy says, the good news is that a lot of the episodes aren't earthly, so you have a shot. And Sean says, I'm missing something to this quiz. Don't bother explaining. I don't want to throw it all off. Yeah, episode titles are not my strength, especially with Star Trek TOS. Oh, okay, so we share that. So yeah, some of you who grok this game, great. If you don't, I may not do this again. Like I said, it was a concept. It was a concept, like some other games I've tried before. Uh, like, remember when I would take a title and of a song and change it around, and you have to figure out what the song was. I might do that again. That was fun. But anyway, Ziplik says, let's do the joy of sex trivia. No, let's not say we did. Anyway, the correct answer to this is Long Live Walter Jameson, which I believe was the first one I saw in reruns when I was a kid, when Channel 38 brought it back in my area. That's the one where the guy, he was a Greek dude, and he met an alchemist who made him a more immortal, and he's a history professor who's dating the head of the department's daughter, and they're going to get married, and the head of the department figures it out, and yada yada blah blah blah. It's got the guy from Invasion of the Body Snatchers in it. But the irony is, at the end, a previous wife who he jilted 50, 60 years ago shows up and just shoots him, and he dies. I'm like, hey, so much for immortality. He do mention that he's like not immune to bullets and stuff, but I mean, like, you figure in 2,000 years, something's gonna kill you. But in the event, question, yeah, we'll call it 8. The pawnbroker wishes to become Hitler. Is that Death's Head Revisited? A. B. Man in the Bottle. C. The Big Tall Wish. Or D. The Invaders. I shall repeat. The pawnbroker wishes to become Hitler. Was it A. Death's Head Revisited? B. Man in the Bottle? C. A Big Tall Wish? Or D. The Invaders? Emily says, Indy, half the time I'm not either. And Indy's Kevin McCarthy. Yes, that's the one, Kevin McCarthy, from Body Snatchers. Both of them, actually. He's actually in the 1978 version. He's the one, he runs into Dom Sultan's car. And he's like, you're next, you're next. And I always loved the concept that actually this is the 1978 wasn't a remake, it was a sequel. And that, like, after all these decades, another wave of spores had come down, and Kevin McCarthy has been running for the last 25 years. Far fetched, but like, wow. Wow. Yeah. Zubul says, you're going to get out more thrash. Yes, I certainly do. And Dave says, I am Genie in the Bottle. Yes, you're right. It's the Man in the Bottle, by the way, with the guy from the Game Masters of Triskelion, Joe Morton, I think his name. No, not Joe Morton. Somebody or other. I'm sure it'll be in the comments any moment now. But oh, look who's here! Formers Content is back. Did you leave us and come back, or you? Anyway, says going with B. Wild episode, that one. Yeah, it's a great one. It's a great one. And here's one for you. Here's one for you. The dude in that also played Adolf Hitler in The Desert Fox with James Mason as Field Marshal Rommel. Ain't that some shush? But yes, B is the correct answer. And he says the pod systems were different. It's a reboot, I'm afraid, Bob. Oh no, you're absolutely right. I said I loved the concept. I like the idea behind it. It doesn't hold water, but yeah. So although Next Generation of Star Trek isn't a reboot; it's a continuation, and the Klingons look different, don't they? Hmm. And Forms Content says, I'm in and out fixing dinner. Oh, gotcha. Joseph Ruskin was the genie. Thank you, Joseph Ruskin. I knew it was Joseph something. Joseph Morton, I think, was the scientist in Terminator 2. He was also the main character in Brother from Another Planet. I believe he was Joe Morton, or Joe's Morton, or Morton Joe's, or Joe Morton's. But anyway, yeah, the pawnbroker wishing to become Hitler is B, Man in the Bottle. 7-ish. The man was the devil all along. And it's not the one you think of either. Was it A, the Howling Man, B, to serve man, C, Old Man in the Cave, or D, I am night, color me black? I feel like I should say that better. I am night, color me black. But I'll repeat either way. The man was a devil all along. Was it A, the Howling Man, B, to serve man, C, the men in the cave, or D, I am night, color me black? And while you guys are all over this one, Chuck Woolery. Chuck Woolery was not in any of those. But yes, it was the Howling Man. With John Carradine. John Carradine plays the head of the cloister. And number 6, and then we'll get scores. He was Santa Claus all along. Was it I Sing the Body Electric? Was it Night of the Meek? Was it Changing of the Guard? Or was it D, 5 characters in search of an exit? I shall repeat. He was Santa Claus all along. Was it A, I Sing the Body Electric? B, Night of the Meek? C, Changing of the Guard? Or D, 5 characters in search of an exit? And if you want to give your scores along with the answer. Oh, I should give the answer first. So hold that thought. And he says to Just, I remember you doing quite on Tug's Twilight Zone trivia a year ago. The Night of the Meek. B sounds legit. You are correct. Yeah. Okay, you got it. Ed just says, good luck getting the Christmas episode in there. It's just such a great episode. And it's Art Carney. And it's Art Carney actually playing a sad character instead of the beloved doofus. And Zibble says, Doug Henning. And Indy says, quite well. I had a hunch that's what you meant, but never want to second guess you. And, but anyway, yes, B, A Night of the Meek, is the correct answer. Tracy says 0 for 5. Oh, Tracy, I'm sorry, but you're still aces in my book. Emily says I love Doug Henning. Gary says Tracy, they have the Burning Man Festival out west. They certainly do. Just says Twilight Zone's a bit of a specialty of mine, Indy. At least the original and the 80s. I remember because I first was introduced to the Twilight Zone in the early 80s. A magazine they used to give us when I was in middle school used to do written adaptations of some of the episodes. So I fell in love with it even before it was on. And then in 82, 83, somewhere around there, a local channel started running them in reruns. So I fell in love with them when I was a kid. So when they brought them back, I was like, a Twilight Zone for my generation. I also liked Dark Room. Anyone else see Dark Room? But remember, we were supposed to be talking about old shows, anthology shows. And he says Trace can have my points. Oh, that's so nice. Zubik says Doug Henning is magic. Yes, he is. Tab is 4 to 5. Emily says, I think I got 4 to 5, but only because I was copying everybody else. Hey, use visual aids to support your work. John is 2 of 5. Gary is 5 of 5. Just says Doug Henning was brilliant. Zubik says, did you know he floated? Not surprised. What you mean is 5 of 5. Emily says Gary David's eyes are mesmerizing. And he says to just magic is an illusion, illusion is magic. Time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. And Just says thanks for remembering Indy. And Gary says he doesn't do any more of his magic anymore. Oh, that's sad. And Emily says, just Doug was the first illusionist I remember ever watching. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Oh, and John says Night Gallery, which of course was Rod Serling's next attempt at anthology. And yeah, a lot of them were science fiction. So that definitely accounts these. And Zubik says that's because he went to the North Pole. And Dave says, do have Surrey. And he says to Tracy, no problem. I'd probably just waste them on booze and handicap fries. I love handicap fries. I haven't had them forever, but from what I recollect, I do. Okay, so moving forward. Let's get this dog and pony show going. The old radio played oldies. Was it A, Once Upon a Time, B, The Silence, C, The Sound and Silence, or D, Static? I shall repeat. The old radio played oldies. Was it A, Once Upon a Time, B, The Silence, C, The Sound of Sounds, The Sound and Silence, or D, Static? Tree says, "Hey, and those caps were good back in the day. They certainly were." Emily says, "This episode I remember." Yes, I got the moves like Jaeger. I got the moves like Jaeger. See what I did there? I got the moves like Jaeger. I got the moves like Jaeger. Um. Anywho, I'm going to give you guys another second, but it seems like John Orchard said A. Sorry, no. The answer is actually D. Static. Dean Yeager finds an old radio and finds that it actually plays old programs from the 1930s. I believe, speaking of Darkroom, I believe Darkroom did a similar story where a guy buys his kid an old radio, and while he's playing with it, he actually overhears a communique between a German saboteur and a U-boat off the coast, the one that actually sunk the transport ship that his father was on. And he builds a transmitter to go with it and manages to send a signal to throw off the sub. And when he wakes up the next day, the Germans had won the war. His father was alive again, but the Germans had won the war. Kind of far-fetched, but a neat twist ending. There was a Dennis Quaid movie that used a similar premise, but I'm kind of going way off script here. Tracy says thrash. Nothing good starts with the word Jaeger, like is it Jägermeister. My former son-in-law, God rest, loved Jaeger, and he would always insist on me doing a shot with him. And I'm like, dude, it tastes like a used bicycle tire. Oh, you know what it reminded me of? You know what it reminded me of? My grandfather, again, God rest, my grandfather, the one who I was always saying, was like reminded me of Burr Lives if he was doing a Jimmy Stewart impression. Robbie, come here and see your daddy get out here. He had this like weakness for like this black tar licorice, not just black licorice. I mean, the stuff that you had to go to old candy stores to get. I mean, the stuff you could actually write on the walls with, that type of stuff. I mean, this stuff was potent. The smell of it would clear your sinuses. And we always made a point of getting him someone we went up to visit, and he'd always insist on sharing it with me. Robbie, come over here, and I have some candy with Daddy Gramps. You can have some of Daddy Gramps' candy, and it was a big honor for him to share his liquors with you. But I used to wait until he took his eyes off me. I'd go to the room and spit it out because it would burn my cheek. But oh, just as Snyder's classic. Oh, so I'm guessing Dave from Classic is out at night. Oh, Dave, I'm so glad you could make it. I hope the link does you some good. Please subscribe to Classic Video Games 45 guys and enjoy Frequency. Yes, Indy, I knew you know that. Frequency was the movie, and Emily says Jägermeister is of the devil. And Zubik says, like, I got the moves like Jaeger. Yeah, you see what I did there? Yes, I knew someone would get it. Rumblestein. It reminds me of Rumblestein. I remember Rumble Mints. That's that that blackberry schnapps that can actually burn. I don't mean like just burn like sensation. I mean you put a match to it, like Dr. McGillicuddy's. And just I'm gonna skip down. It says he turned into Jimmy Stewart. No, he just he looked like Burl Ives, but for some reason he talked like Jimmy Stewart. Like yeah. He come over, or Edward G. Robinson after his stroke, or I don't know, but he had a very distinct speech pattern. Yeah. Come over here, see Daddy Gramps. Yeah. So what grade are you in now? 6th, 7th? I'm a senior, Daddy Gramps. Oh, senior, yes. I knew that. I was thinking of your brother David, my sister Jenny. Yeah, your sister Jenny. Yes, I was thinking of Jenny Lou. And Jenny says, just went through the Thriller episode guide. My brain is hurting again. Yeah, Thriller wasn't really sci-fi. Thriller was more thriller, psychological horror, that type of thing. Although there's a great one where they find the was it Penelope? The woman who turned people into pigs, Cassiopeia, with John Carradine's in it, by the way. And again, One Step Beyond was a good guess too, but One Step Beyond was more like urban legends and stuff. But again, there's no wrong answer. I just wish we could be more help. This book says the dementia, poor thing. Cersei. John said Cersei. Thank you. Oh, and I loved how they did that. I loved how they did that in The Warriors, which I know was mostly in a basis, but also with a lot of the Odyssey mixed in. And one of the things Cersei does is she doesn't turn men into the pigs, she turns men in to the pigs. You see what I did there? Yeah, and it's not a flautist, it's or a pipe. It's a whistle. It's a shh, shh. But yeah, she turns them into the pigs, turns them in to the pigs. The joys of syntax. Indy says this would be a great spot for a trivia game, and Cersei was the pig with the lady. It would, wouldn't it be? Oh my God, John Collins is here. Says Bob, did you ever see the sitcom Room 222? I haven't. I have seen the sitcom Room 222. It was actually pretty good. And Zublik says, so Cersei fed them to the pigs. No, she turned men into pigs. And if I remember correctly, that's a big brouhaha because when Odysseus' men get to her island, they're very, very, very hungry and start to eat a pig who turns out to be a man. And at least one incarnation, one of his men gets turned into a pig, and they almost eat him, not realizing he's their friend. But you have to bear with me. I read the Odyssey 40 frickin' years ago. Dear God. But I still know the opening. I am Odysseus, great Laertes' son. For cunning plans of every kind, even to heaven has spread my fame. My native land is Ithaca. Rugged it is, this land of mine, and lies far out to sea and to the west. But come, for I shall tell of the many sorrows Zeus set upon me as I traveled homeward from Troy. Scene. I had a fascist English teacher who insisted we learn that. Oh, and he taught me more about English, I think, than any other one English teacher I ever had. He was a great guy, and he used to like make it conversational. Like he would read a line from Shakespeare and then say it colloquially, or like in the Odyssey. Come, Odysseus, let us steal this Cyclops' goods and bring them to our ship that we might use them in our quest. And what he's saying is, let's rip this guy off and get out of here before he comes home. And he reminded me of Leonard Sheldon, probably best known for being the bartender in It's a Wonderful Life, 6 Degrees of Jimmy Stewart Tonight, huh, gang? He also had a very short-lived show, I want to say called Big Eddie or something like that. But anyway, let us not forget that I am like Mr. Cadulo here, and I will teach you guys English, but you got to listen to me while I'm talking. And if you don't, you're going to stay after school, and we will have little projects for you, and you won't like these projects. So best for you to listen to me while I'm teaching you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you got this? And but again, he was he was a great teacher. He passed on recently too. I'm afraid I found out, but again, he was old 40 years ago, so no big surprises there. And boy, my off topic had an off topic, didn't it? But again, I'm pontificating. And anyway, and he says the last time, oh, I'm sorry, the time since you last read the Odyssey was twice as long as Odysseus was away from Ithaca. Crazy. Oh, I love the line, by the way. Troy, not a great movie. Had its moments. I did enjoy it, but the funniest scene in the whole movie is after the first battle on the beach, where Achilles, he's brooding, he's being like, I'm Achilles and I'm pissed about everything. And Odysseus calls out to him and says, hey, Achilles, great job. And Achilles looks at Odysseus and says, huh, you took your time getting here. And I said to my two friends I was watching the movie with, I said, one of whom was Frederick, previously mentioned. And I go, yeah, and the trip home is going to be murder. And they both burst out laughing. I thought it was very timely and funny. And Tracy says, my English teacher from high school, his name was Mr. Tokowitz, and he looked like Henry Winkler looks now. That's actually really cool. Zubik says, I remember the Odyssey. I remember when Odysseus, chopped the suitors to pieces. Yeah, he shot the arrow through the 20 axes and then took the 20 axes. um, Troy was passable fair. Yeah, but they took such liberties with it. I mean, I did enjoy it, but anyway. And Emily says the only Troy that came to mind was from High School Musical. And anyway, and Danny says, "Hey, John Wayne was leggy, big leggy. I'll take your word for it, big leggy." Anyway, moving on to I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Question 4: Gold has lost its value. Was it A, the trade-ins, B, penny for your thoughts, C, the Rip Van Winkle caper, or D, the eye of the beholder? I shall repeat. Gold has lost its value. Was it A, the trade-ins, B, penny for your thoughts, C, the Rip Van Winkle caper, or D, eye of the beholder? Ziplik says, did Wayne sport nylons? That's actually mentioned in Repo Man. It's my understanding that he wasn't a cross dresser. But if I remember correctly, athletes used to sometimes wear nylons under their training garb because it was speculated back in the day that helped the leg muscles stay taut. I do not know one or the other, but Um, it's been mentioned. Only. Oh, and Gary says Troy Donahue made a great appearance on Laverne and Shirley. I don't. I'm sure I saw that episode, but I don't recall it. I remember Fabian. I remember Fabian. And Tracy says, can't help but think of Troy with the Trojan horse. And he says, as far you, Troy Don. Oh, as for you, Troy Donahue, I know what you want to do. For a time, that was my favorite song in the entire soundtrack. And the correct answer is C, the Rip Van Winkle caper. And most of you guys got that. Question 3. Your neighbors are actually assholes. Yes, folks, that's 2 assholes in one trivia game. I'm going for the record. A, the shelter. B, the lonely. C, the people are like all over. Or D, a nice place to visit. I shall repeat. Your neighbors are actually assholes. Was it A, the shelter, B, the lonely, C, the people who are like all over, or D, a nice place to visit? Indy says the monsters are dude on Maple Street. Yes, I remember that one, and I couldn't put that one there as one of the choices because then there'd be 2 possible choices. So Emily says D for reasons. Oh, come on, Emily. I know you know which one a nice place to visit is. And Gary says his name was mentioned on Grease instead of Elvis. That was Frankie Avalon, I thought. The musical number, Beauty School Dropout. Yeah, I thought that was Frankie Avalon. And of course, the guy at the prom was oh, what was his name? Oh, Kooky something or other. My mother remembered him from when she was a kid. He had that bit where he would sing with some actress, and the whole song was "Kooky, lend me your comb" or something like that. And he says, "Rats." I started typing before options. Aha! It's actually funny. There are a number of Twilight Zone episodes that have running threads, um, and what your neighbors being asshole jerks could have been in a couple. So Ed Ed Barron. Yes. Who the character's name was Cookie, but his name was Ed Byrne. He actually, if I remember correctly, he did an episode of Married with Children where they do that shtick where they pretend to sign up for a timeshare to get a weekend away. And he's the celebrity pitchman, and he just goes around throwing combs at people. And he says Elvis was mentioned in the same song, Gary. Elvis, let me be. Keep that pelvis far from me. Um, but what I thought the reference was, if I remember correctly, they wanted Elvis to do the beauty school dropout, right? And either he wouldn't do it or he was dead at the time. I can't remember what. So they decided to go with I said Frankie Avalon. Someone else mentioned um Gary Cameron, Emily says Gary, he and Elvis were both mentioned in the song. Yes, Sandra Dee song, yes. Um Troy Donahue, someone said Troy Donahue. I thought it was Frankie Avalon, but I believe the reference was it was supposed to be the guy who did the Beauty School Dropout song. Uh, but again, oh, Tom McCluskey's here. Hey, Tom, how's it going? You're just in time for the last couple of trivia questions. The game is called Spoiler Alert. I give you the surprised ironic twist in a Twilight Zone episode, and you tell me the title of the episode. Ed just says that was Frankie Avalon. Thank you, thank you. I'm not as senile as I thought I was. I vividly remember Frankie Avalon because you remember I used to watch Frankie Avalon and all those beach movies with Annette Funicello. So it's like I knew Frankie Avalon was. So I'm like I could have sworn, but if I had a dollar for every time I could have sworn somebody was somebody and they weren't. I remember I had a heated argument with somebody once because I said Jason Robards was the father and the stepfather at least, and yours, mine, and ours, and they said no, it's Henry Fonda, and I could have sworn I like had my hand on a stack of Bibles, swearing that it was Jason Robards, and it wasn't. And I don't even know where that came from, because of course, it was Henry Fonda. But moving forward, and oh yes, the shelter. The shelter is the episode in question. Number two, the Earth is moving away from the sun. Is it 100 yards over the rim? Is it A? Is it B, the long Morrow? Is it C, third rock from the sun? Or D, midnight sun? I shall repeat. The Earth is moving away from the sun. Is it A, 100 yards over the rim? Is it B, the long Morrow? Is it C, third rock from the sun? Or is it D, the midnight sun? And Carrie says, Indy, it was filmed in 1977. Elvis was going to be in the dream sequence, but they got Frankie instead. Okay, so he was still alive. Okay, he was still alive. An ounce of gold's worth $2,700. That's crazy. Yeah, I remember that anecdote from somewhere that originally was supposed to be Elvis. A beauty school dropout. Um, I bet it was money. I bet it was money. I bet Frankie would have done it for substantially less than Elvis wanted. And oh, anyway, you guys all seem to have this one. Roland was a warrior from the land of the midnight sun. Midnight Sun. Yes, Midnight Sun. One of my favorite. That's actually one of my favorite episodes, by the way. Um, just because. I love the twist ending there. And you find out that the reason she's hot is because she is very, very, very sick and is burning up with fever. But in fact, the world is getting colder. It reminds me of the line from um, London Calling, where Mr. Strummer says, "The ice age is coming, the sun's moving in." So there's an ice age, and we're getting closer to the sun. That sounds pretty bad. And the number one is fascism is still very much around and with us. All of them. Is it A, 99 years without slumbering? B, he's alive? C, the fear? Or D, again, Death's Head Revisited? I love that title. I love that title. But I shall repeat fascism is still very much around and with us. Is it A, 99 years without slumbering? B, he's alive? C, the fear? Or D, Death's Head Revisited? And you guys all got this. Superplex, this is what we talked about. It's okay, man. Love you. In a healthy, non-threatening kind of way. The answers are pouring in, but I'm giving you this one more minuet. Emily says, "Don't know who's alive, but I'm going with B." That's as good an answer as any, and you are correct. Yes, and the answer was called "He's Alive." Um, Crazy episode. Dennis Hopper plays. Oh, and this is not political. I'm just curious because when I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I thought I saw a picture of a very young Dennis Hopper the other day, and it was actually Barron Trump. Mentioned this to my wife, Mrs. Thrash, and she says, "Yeah, I can see it." Does anybody else see a similarity between Barron Trump and a very young Dennis Hopper? But anyway, Dennis Hopper plays a young kid who becomes obsessed with recreating the Third Reich, which is ironic because his main father figure, when he was even younger still, was a Jewish dude. Things happen. And he starts getting advice from a mysterious stranger who turns out to be um Hitler incarnate. And one of the craziest things is and I'm so ashamed I can't think of the actor's name, but the guy who played Major Hofstetter, the Gestapo agent in Hogan's Heroes, is actually one of his Nazi henchmen. So it's another occasion where he plays a Nazi. Um, and that's the only like trivia I have at the top of my head. But the correct answer is he's alive. And oh, and yes, just points out it was actually early Dennis Hopper appearance. I believe it was his first. I believe it was his first TV appearance. And Thrash says, "Oh, Tracy says it was Ed Kooky Burns." So I was right about the kooky part. Hey, babe, that's kooky. That's kooky, babe. And Forms Content says, Gary, I can see that. And Gary says he was in that. Yes, he was. And Emily says, Baron is an attractive young man, takes after his mom. And he says, Howard Kane. So he was Raisin Kane. Unless, of course, he was unable. I don't know. I work with what I got. And Gary says Baron and his father name was mentioned in a book before they were both born. I can't remember the name of it. And Tom McCluskey says Major Hofstetter was also on Leave It to Beaver. He was. He was. Oh, and Teb started with the scores. Teb has gotten 9 of 10. Gary has gotten 8 of 10. Wajamin has gotten 10 of 10. Wajamin got 10 of 10 again. Gary Carpenter has also got 8 of 10 once more. Just got 10 of 10. But again, you said like Twilight Zone is sort of a thing of yours. Lisa Fields got 8, I'm guessing, out of 10. These are all excellent scores, people. Excellent scores. Emily says the Bible, maybe. Oh, Cain, yeah, Cain and Abel. Very good, very good. And Tracy said 0 for 10. LOL. It's okay. I'm sure you knew the episodes, most of them, but just not by title. Which again is the one drawback to this game. Don't know if I'll do it again, but I hope we had fun. John got 4 of 10, and yeah. See if we get any other scores. There's only 13 people still kicking with us tonight, by the way, but that's a very lucky number, and at least it is for Vikings. And Zublik says, "Don't." And Gary says, no, not that. I would have remembered that. Emily says 8 is a nice round number. And if you put it on its side, it's a symbol for infinity. And he says, it's Revelation M. They only needed one, apparently. You only had one revelation? You can have a revelation. I thought it was revelations. But what do I know? And Diddy says, The Adventures of Little Baron Trump and stupid dog? I didn't know Baron Trump had a dog. Zublex, I'm not taking the bait. Gary says someone made a book about time traveler, but it's not the time machine. Several. Well, Tug wrote a book about a time traveler. And Emily says, Indy, don't blame me for my autocorrect. Never would dream of that. And Jenny says, that's the name of the book. Oh, really? Okay, I did not know that. I did not know that. Um, I would have named him Hartzug. Hearts are Trump. Get it? See what they did there? Hearts are Trump. So hearts are Trump. Yeah. I thought it was clever. I have to impress you people. Good thing too. And anywho, so it's actually looking like we're getting dangerously close to the 9 o'clock hour, folks. And and he says, it's the book of Revelation, Bob. Now Danny tells us about the Mandela effect concerning it. And so anyway, yeah, I'm probably gonna get up. It's supposed to snow tonight, so I'm gonna have to do some car clearing in the morning. I am already sick of winter. I am so sick of winter. Um, but what are you gonna do? But anyway, guys, have a great rest of the long weekend. I hope everyone has an excellent day tomorrow. For those of you who do TikTok, um, I'm happy that your platform is back. For those of you who don't, we can still be happy for our compatriots. Um, I will. Oh, and John says Tug's book. I meant. Yeah, I kind of had a hunch figure. And Indy says thanks for the trivia. You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. And Tom says bye, guys. Tom, thank you so much for stopping by. It's always great to see you again, bro. Don't be a stranger, huh? Great to see you. I have some more content coming out this week. I will have that. The next thing will be the Mad Magazine Wretched recap. So it says, "Don't stress yourself shoveling snow, T-Pons. We want to see you next week." It's gonna be light, billowy snow, and I'm probably gonna use my leaf blower, which probably won't be really popular with my neighbors. But I just use it to blow the snow off the cars. It's gonna be that light, billowy stuff. But why does everyone think I'm gonna have a heart attack from shoveling snow? But thank you for your concern. Gary says there's another book that has something to do with time travel, and it's got the names in it as characters, and just says, "Thanks for the stream. Hope to make it next time. Don't let the snow get you down." I don't. It's part of just being in New England. Um and again, if it wasn't the fact Mrs. Thrash has to work tomorrow morning early, and then Mama Thrash has a doctor's appointment. She's really stressing. Everybody, please wish Mama Thrash luck. She has to have some tests done for another appointment for next week, and is getting tired of doctors. So everybody wish Mama Thrash luck. Like I said, it's test tomorrow, but you can tell she doesn't want to go. I never liked doctors either. So, but that's another story. Um, but anyway, everybody wish Mama Thrash luck. But I have to make sure her car is clear tomorrow so she can get to her doctor's appointment. Otherwise, it'll be a what's what I'm looking for. It'll be a an ongoing domino effect of calamity. And Tracy says, "Nighters." Gary says, "Ciao, everyone." Tom says, "I'm home." That's good to know. Uh, Just says, "All my best, Mama Thrash." Thank you, Just. And yes, and I do wicked really hope you make it to next week's chat. It'll probably be 7 o'clock next week because with any luck at all, um, Sister Sarah will be better, and we can do the show that we're going to do tonight. Zubik says, "Good night, Mrs. Pons. Fingers crossed, Mama T Pons, and we hope for the best." Again, nothing serious. Like I said, it's just a test for our doctor's appointment. Um, and that is as I say that. And yes, there might be another. Well, there's definitely another project I'm working on, which I will hopefully have for you this week as well. But anyway, until then. Oh, and by the way, I believe Lance is right. I believe there is a Dave members chat tomorrow, which I hope to see you guys there as well. But anyway, until I see you next, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.